So I don't usually cover a lot of real-time stuff on my channel, but I've been integrating it slowly. And this case, with the new FTX scandal breaking down, has caught my eye as something I wanted to talk about here because I find it fascinating, kind of like the metaverse situation with Facebook and Zuckerberg having to fire 11,000 employees because they lost $15 billion on a failed venture. Um, this fascinates me because of what it's going to do in terms of changing the world of crypto and causing more regulation to take place. It is a case study. Before the FTX scandal, Enron stood out as like the number one worst accounting fraud in the history of like bad deals. And for many years, that has stood like 20 plus years. It has been like the number one greatest failure in the history of like finance until now, and we're watching this unfold in real time. I can remember when I was in my late teens, early 20s, the Enron thing, which happened said before its bankruptcy in December 2nd, 2001. So yeah, that was when I was 21. It employed approximately 20,000 staff and had claimed revenues of nearly $101 billion during 2000. It was named America's most innovative company by Fortune for 6 consecutive years. At the end of 2001, it was then revealed that their reported financial condition was sustained by institutionalized, systemic, and creatively planned accounting fraud, since known as the Enron Scandal. This brought into question the accounting practices and activities of many corporations in the U.S. and was a factor in the enactment of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, which affected the greater business world by causing, along with the fraudulent bankruptcy of WorldCom, the dissolution of the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, which had been Enron and WorldCom's main auditor for years. Now, there's a bunch of information you can read about the Enron scandal. I remember, and I could be, it's been so long ago and I haven't read through it recently. I remember this being the one that, like, all the company employees, like, all of their pension funds went up in smoke because of this. You had people who had dedicated their lives and their careers to this company, and then it all just went away. And it was a great sort of case study into how you can't trust anybody in terms of the corporate world to have your future, um, at heart, because at the end of the day, they really don't care. You are just a cog in the wheel. And when push comes to shove, greedy people are going to do greedy things and they're going to screw you over because you're just a peon in the grand scheme of things. And it was this, as I said, a case study for all of these things that have happened since then and until now. And now we're seeing something. And what's interesting is about the new CEO is that the new CEO, um, John Ray III, the guy who's taken over for FTX, is the same guy who oversaw, or one of the individuals who oversaw, the Enron bankruptcy scandal. So this guy is saying that the FTX one is worse than the Enron scandal. Mind blown. Uh, I'm Tim Anderson, by the way, aka Renfield to some in the gaming community. If you've gotten this far and you like what you hear today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Let me know if you want more like this because I'm starting to introduce more real stuff into my channel as opposed to only like, TV shows and sci-fi and fantasy and book reviews and video games. Um, and if we continue to see great, analytics reports from these videos, I will continue to report on things like this from time to time. Don't forget, if you are a new user, to check out all the other stuff that happens on the channel because there's a lot of stuff here. But in the meantime, let's just dive into this report. Um, the new CEO said that he's never seen such a complete failure of corporate control and said there was a complete absence of trustworthy financial information. This is the full quote says, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls as such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information has occurred here. From compromised system integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented." He noted that many of the companies in the FTX group, particularly those in Antigua and Bahamas, overseas, offshore, didn't have appropriate corporate governance, and many had never held board meetings. They also had cash management procedural failures, including the absence of an accurate list of bank accounts and account signatories. There was also insufficient attention paid to the creditworthiness of banking partners, and they used corporate funds, oh my God, to purchase homes and other personal items for employees and advisors. There does not appear to be documentation for certain of these transactions, like loans, and certain real estate was recorded in the personal name of these employees and advisors on the records of the Bahamas rather than as FTX Group purchases. So, what's really interesting about this to me is that this kid, CEO of ex CEO, former CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, or is it Fried? I don't really know. Like I said, I haven't really paid attention to any of this until now because I'm not huge into the crypto stuff. Um, it sounds to me, from what I've been seeing over the last week, that this is a case of a kid who, along with some friends, got rich really, really quick in crypto because they got into crypto at the right time when it was all booming. And they took advantage of the fact that it was completely unregulated and they were allowed to just do whatever they wanted for a window of time. This has happened in the past, it'll happen again. Anytime there's a new market, there's always going to be people who can come in and make a ton of money. Sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't. Regulation always comes eventually because there's always going to be a scandal like this that takes place. It sounds to me like these guys went on a bunch of millennials who were on the internet going, "Hey, how do rich people do stuff? Oh, they do offshore accounts and they go to the Bahamas and Antigua and they set up these shell companies and they buy property. Let's do all those things. Like let's do all the things that we see the internet saying that rich people do." But they did it without actually doing it the way rich people do, which is through legal systems that exist. And if you follow the rules, there are loopholes in the rules that allow you to do things and still get incredibly wealthy while also simply following the rules and not getting in trouble. These guys didn't want to follow the rules. They just said, "We're going to do it how we want to do it. It's the Wild West. We're unplugged from the matrix. We can just do what we want. It's crypto. No one's regulating crypto." Well, the unfortunate reality is that governments are trying to regulate crypto and they're starting to regulate crypto. And now they're definitely going to be regulating crypto because this has become the new Enron scandal that is going to cause new acts and provisions and regulatory oversight to begin to be put into place. We don't know what the fallout of this is going to be. There were many companies who had invested so heavily in FTX because it was seeing staggering growth day after day, year after year, whatever. What's going to happen to all of those companies now that FTX has gone under and claimed bankruptcy because they were relying upon FTX for their cash funding, and now they're not going to have any cash. They're not going to be able to make payroll. They're not going to be able to pay off debts and loans and so on and so forth. There is going to be a ripple effect to this that is going to cause waves for weeks, if not months, on an international level that is going to, I think it's going to supersede anything we saw from the Enron scandal because Enron was still being done in such a way that it was kind of like a lot of brick and mortar stuff was still taking place. And this is sort of Wild West. Everyone was getting involved on an international basis, and now we're going to see it all crashing down. Um, the case study for this is just one of caution. I know a lot of people flinch when they hear regulation because when they hear a lot of people they hear regulation and like, ooh, government. When the government gets involved, they're going to want to tax me and all this other stuff. Again, I am not a financial advisor, so don't take anything I say to be financial advice. But there is something to be said for it. I've been a business owner for many, many years. I'm 42. I've had multiple businesses. I've been self-employed or had my own companies since I was 20 years old. I've had a construction company, I had a travel company, I've had a game studio, and I'm on my second game studio now, as well as just as being a sole proprietor at one point in time for my early writing career. Um, and I think I've done 6 or 7 S corps and LLCs over the years. So I'm not, a billionaire or a millionaire, but I have done business over the years. And on a small scale, it's very easy to pay little to nothing in tax by just using the loopholes that exist in the system. If you are doing things legitimately, you can set up other companies, and you can pay yourself a salary, and you can have vehicles, and you can purchase real estate, and you can do all of these things using the systems that exist and still not have to pay billions of dollars of taxes if that's your end goal. I don't know what these guys' end goal was, but it feels to me, based on what I've been reading, is they basically wanted to take all of the money that they were making from crypto and not deal with any government entities whatsoever. And so they were just going, you know what, we're just going to boo boo fast and loose, do all this stuff off the book. And unfortunately, it came back to bite them in the ass, because now that they have somebody who's stepping in and actually doing a regulatory oversight and going through this bankruptcy proceeding, as he said, they're finding out that there was loans given. I heard, I don't know if this is true, I heard that this guy Sam took a $1 billion loan from the company. There have been reports, as mentioned in this article, of uh, houses that were purchased in personal names rather than in company names. There were crazy bank accounts being set up with uncreditworthy partners. Um, there was lack of signatures and signatories. There was missing bank account information because they had just set up bank accounts here, there, and everywhere, and not everyone knew where all these bank accounts were and who was doing what with the bank accounts. There was companies that had been set up and there had never been board meetings, which means there was never any meeting minutes to show that things had been done by the books. They just did things in a completely unregulated, shoot from the hip, inexperienced, and has the lawyer used a very interesting wording here. He said, a group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals. Meaning they're completely unsophisticated. They don't know anything about business. They didn't do anything by the book. They didn't even attempt to do anything by the book because they just don't have any knowledge whatsoever. How old is this kid? What is his name? CEO Sam Bankman-Fried. How old is he? 92. He's 30 years old, right? Right? So when did he start this? When did FTX start? 2003, trading international EFTs. 2017. 2017, he founded Alameda Research. He owned 90% of it as of 2021. So relatively, January 2018 began arbitrage trade, moving up to 25 million a day. So mid to late 20s, this kid was doing things, and it sounds like some of it was by the book, but then he got into stuff where he was just playing fast and loose with stuff that was unregulated. So it sounds to me like it's just the allure of making a lot of money really quick without any sort of oversight was what got to these guys. And um, I mean, the fact that all of them are like 30 or under and are doing all of these crazy things with tens of billions of dollars, like I can't imagine what it would be like to be that young and suddenly go from being a normal person to having billions and billions and billions of assets, whether they're virtual or not, to your name, and feeling like you're a god and you can do anything, and just that's your modus operandum. Just, well, there's nobody stopping us. Let's just do this, and now let's do this, and let's do this, and no one's saying no to us ever. And I think that's a big deal. That's a big issue. Is no one's there to tell them no, and that's what you have oversight committees for. There's as a result of this, I don't have it pulled up, but I believe it was the co-founder of PayPal had mentioned. I saw a video the other day on social media. He's saying something about at one point in time PayPal had gone through a little bit of a kerfuffle, and they had all of the lawyers coming down and saying you cannot use money from customer deposits to do anything. You cannot do anything with that money. That money has to stay there so that if the customers need a refund or anything else, the money has to stay there. If you do anything with that money in terms of spending it to pay off company debt or buying company real estate or paying salaries for company employees or anything like that, that's a misuse of those funds, and you can get in big trouble for that. And these kids didn't pay any attention to any of that because that's literally what they were doing with the funding that was coming in from customers. Is they were taking that cash and using it to do all these things with, and they weren't keeping that money there for emergencies like needing to be able to do refunds. And that was what kind of started the downfall was when when things started to go haywire and people started to try to want to make withdrawals and pull their money out of FTX, they locked withdrawals and we just don't have the cash and we can't give it to you. And then that led to the bankruptcy situation. Again, like I said, I'm not a crypto expert. I'm not a financial expert. I'm just here sort of looking at this and wanting to talk about this on my channel. I want to learn about this more. I'd love to learn more about crypto, educate myself, hopefully do it in a group setting with my followers and whoever comes along and stumbles across this video. So if you have more stuff to talk about, more info on this, let me know in the comments below. And of course, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And if you've gotten to the end, and you like what you saw here today and you want to remain a part of this community for the long haul and you like all the other stuff that we do here, I just have one simple request. Support the channel. You can do a simple super thanks on videos like this. It's a one-off contribution to keep the channel going and me full-time on YouTube. You can also do a recurring membership down there. We have 3 different tiers if you want to get involved that way. And of course, there's also super chats and stickers on live streams and premieres. I do a lot of video game stuffs here, so hopefully see you in a live stream. And there's a Patreon page if you want to get into the stuff that I do with my wife and my brother. It's an independent little game dev studio where we do a point and click game, 5th edition tabletop setting, and a book series. So hopefully see you there as well and in the Discord. Till next time, stay safe, everybody, and maybe stay away from crypto for a little while. Love to hear your thoughts. Cheers.